Everyone loves Batman. He's like the Beatles of the superhero world. And he's got the best film adaptations of any superhero out there. But some are better than others. Here I'm going to give my personal ranking of the Batman movies from 1989 on. I'm excluding the 1966 film with Adam West, God rest his soul, and 2016's Dawn of Justice, because the latter is meant more as a Superman sequel, and the former is frankly so far removed from the other movies that ranking against the rest seems kind of ridiculous. Heads up, if you're wondering if Batman and Robin is at the bottom, the answer is yes. If you're expecting The Dark Knight to be at the top, you're going to be very, very disappointed. With that out of the way, let's talk movies. Pretty much any good comic book film in the last 20 to 30 years exists because of this movie. Some of the effects are dated, and I'm not that crazy with Kim Basinger's casting, but this film has everything else going for it. It's got the best Batmobile, best film score, along with friggin' Prince songs, and the best Batman. Michael Keaton is the Sean Connery of Batmans. Or Batmen. And please, give it a rest with this whole Jack Nicholson is playing himself routine with the Joker, as if there's stacks upon stacks of photos with Jack Nicholson dressed in purple dancing to Party Man at Lakers games. His performance as the Joker is the one from which every comic book villain has been weighed against. It's hilarious, unpredictable, and dangerous. And like so many other things in this movie, he set the standard for what was to follow. This movie is ranked number 2 if for no other reason than the fact that it resurrected a franchise that had been dead just shy of a decade. Christian Bale lends more of a physicality to the role than Keaton, instead playing Batman as an almost ninja. The cast is great. Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, Gary Oldman, Liam Neeson, Cillian Murphy. The odd one out is Katie Holmes. She seems a bit out of place. I really dig the emphasis on tech in this movie. My only gripe is that they aren't the product of Bruce Wayne's skill and intellect, but rather acquired from his company. My guess is this was done for the sake of preserving quote-unquote realism. I'll go into that more later. I can already hear the cries of anguish at this movie's placement above The Dark Knight. Keep listening and you'll get why. The Dark Knight Rises is closer in tone to Batman Begins. It's an epic comic book movie. It's not a crime drama. It's thematically dense, but it lacks all the pretense of The Dark Knight. Also, Anne Hathaway is a huge upgrade from Maggie Gyllenhaal. I'd run off to Europe with her too. This film managed to do the absolute impossible and make the Penguin an interesting and threatening character. Danny DeVito is great in this. His makeup is fantastic, and his performance is absolutely vile, yet you still feel sympathy for him. Michelle Pfeiffer is the best Catwoman, providing a good foil to Keaton's Batman, and we can't forget Christopher Walken, who's at full tilt creepy as Max Schreck. My main qualm is with Batman, or the lack thereof. He doesn't get nearly enough screen time. I like the Burton films for using Batman sparingly and keeping him in the shadows, but his role is far too diminished in this one. The one everyone seems to love, because of Heath Ledger. My initial reaction to his casting was like everyone else's, Brokeback Batcave. But I liked him years before, so I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. His performance is superb, and unlike anything he had ever done before, and he definitely deserved that Oscar. Except that he's not the Joker. Yeah, sure, he's got the clown makeup and likes to cause chaos, but that's about it. He's not particularly funny, unlike Jack Nicholson, Mark Hamill, or even Cesar Romero. He's got the pencil gag and the candy striper disguise, neither of which are all that funny. He's basically just an anarchist in face paint. I guess you could chalk up my tepid response to this movie by the overwhelming hype that was heaped upon it. People kept calling it a quote-unquote crime drama and praising its realism. That's my biggest problem. Batman is a superhero, and his movies are comic book movies. Stop trying to relabel them in some misplaced attempt to elevate their importance. Comic book movies are great. Sometimes they're even deep and meaningful pictures. Let them be what they are. I think Frank Miller said it best. People are attempting to bring a superficial reality to superheroes, which is rather stupid. They work best as the flamboyant fantasies they are. I mean, these are characters that are broad and big. I don't need to see sweat patches under Superman's arms. I want to see him fly. This is where the rot started to set in. From the vast change in aesthetic, to the casting, to the bat nipples, to the obnoxious balls-to-the-wall horns of the film score, Batman Forever, in retrospect, was a sign that things had gone horribly wrong. Val Kilmer is an adequate successor to Keaton, with this portrayal of Batman dispensing justice by way of martial arts, as opposed to his predecessor's quick and calculated approach. Both his Batman and Bruce Wayne are truer to the modern depiction we know today, whereas Keaton's was closer to the characterization from DC's golden age. Chris O'Donnell does a commendable job as Robin, given the difficulty with transferring that character from comic book to screen and doing it seriously. I think this was the most successful endeavor made by the film. Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face is disappointing. Jones is capable of playing psychos, but his performance here needed to be toned down. Two-Face is a manic character, but we don't get that here. Jim Carrey's Riddler fares better, though he's often little more than a gay Joker. This flatlined the franchise until its miraculous recovery in 2005. Batman and Robin is all kinds of awful. George Clooney makes a great Bruce Wayne and an atrocious Batman. He makes no attempt to change his voice, nor is he intimidating in any way. He drives a brightly lit Batmobile and carries a Batman credit card. Robin has been turned into an insufferable brat, and because there's toys to be made, we get Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl in the last quarter of the movie. Uma Thurman puts on her best Mae West impersonation for Poison Ivy, turning the camp level up to 11. But the absolute biggest disappointment is Arnold Schwarzenegger. All he had to do was play the Terminator with the freeze ray. That's all he had to do! Instead, every line he spouts has some gosh-awful ice pun. The most depressing thing is that this used to be my favorite movie as a kid. I loved it. But I was a kid. Kids are stupid. Anyway, that's my list. I'm sure most of you will groan about it, but oh well. Hope you enjoyed the video. I plan on making some more lists in the future. Thanks for watching.